JTG, let's welcome the audience to another episode of Giant Fundamentals, the podcast dedicated to empowering men by tackling the vital issues of mental health. And today is a special day because we have a special guest. We want to welcome Dr. Mras, an internationally recognized inspirational speaker, number one best-selling author, and intuitive leader who has dedicated her life to empowering others to live unapologetically, right? Whether through her books, motivational speeches, or her live stream show, Mental Shift, Michelle's mission is clear: to help you unlock your true potential, embrace who you are. So, today's episode, we will explore how Michelle has turned her pain into power, showing us all how to rise above adversity and reclaim our inner strength. And give a round of applause to my introduction. Thank you very much. You gotta feel the emotion, right? Oh man. With that being said, Michelle, how is your heart? How is your body? How is your mind? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for being awake, honestly.
Amazing.
Yeah. Every time I open my eyes, I'm grateful.
Amazing. Amazing. Jono, same question. How's your heart? How's your mind? How's your body? What are you grateful for? Hmm.
Hmm.
Correct. Hmm. Thank you. And I definitely love how both of you ignored the physical and mental, emotional part of my question. So I'll go ahead and start. It's
Well,
okay. It's
it's
okay.
all tied together.
Amazing. Amazing. I can tell you guys finished your test really fast in class.
Yes, we did. I did. Did you?
For sure. So I definitely feel great. My mind definitely feels clear. My body, I went to the gym yesterday, first time in a few weeks. I think 3 weeks since the last time we went, Jono. So just resetting that gym routine. Body definitely feels sore. Having new dreams at night because of how knocked out I am. And emotionally, which leads to my gratitude. I heard Charlemagne the God say this on the Breakfast Club. He said, "Growing out loud is hard." And I think that's very important for what we do as professionals, Michelle, as well as you guys put your story out there into the world, as well as me too in this podcast. We put our story out there into this world, and we're growing out loud, compared to where we started and where we are now. People have seen our growth, and it hasn't been easy. It takes a certain level of vulnerability to be able to grow out loud in that way. So that was my giant gratitude. Um, Now I do want to ask you, Michelle, since it's your first time being on our show, we have a section where we have mental health music. We call it M&Ms. So something sweet for the audience where we talk about a song or maybe lyrics from a song that really help us through a tough time. Or if you just want to get away from the world, maybe there's a song that you play that helps you relax and just be present. What is that song for you?
Well, the sign that always pops into my mind, it's a dual thing. One of it reminds me of my childhood and how people kept telling me, "Oh, your life is so easy. Your daddy's rich and your mommy's pretty and you got everything all lined up for you." And then that same song, when my brother started playing music, he's a sax player, he would play Summertime. And so as I've emerged as this older woman who's gone through a lot, I sing Summertime. And I might, do you mind if I break into it?
No, that's
Okay. So when I think of this song, I think of my childhood, and it's summer time and live garden is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. And that song goes through my head a lot because childhood was not easy. I was a mixed race child in a very racist world, and I wasn't black enough, and I wasn't Filipino enough, and I wasn't, what
Mhm.
was I? And summertime really resonates with me because I'm so much more than what they thought my parents were.
Mm. No,
It's
that's
just,
amazing.
you don't have any.
Is
Yeah.
what do you know the original composer of that song, "Summertime"?
It's from Porgy and Bess.
Organ Bass. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
we could tag it at the end.
Yeah.
That's, thank you for sharing your voice as well.
You're
Uh, really wasn't well. I mean, I heard it before, but I know the audience wasn't
welcome.
expecting it.
Well,
So,
and the whole thing about being a mixed race kid,
mhm,
it was so odd because I basically had to choose which nationality I was going to be,
wow,
which one I was going to suck up. Yeah, and it's like, wait a minute. I would go to Louisiana. I'd go to ninth. My father's from the Ninth Ward. We'd go there, hang
wow,
out with grandma and grandpa, and then be looked at funny. And then
mm,
I'd go to the Philippines. And it was like, who am I? What am I? And so when people say, "What are you?" I'm American
wow,
because I choose.
right. No, that's definitely important, and thank you for that segue because I kind of want to go into your history here because you were born in America, but you spent your childhood in the Philippines. So, what year did you leave, or how old were you when you left America to go back to the Philippines?
I think I was about 3 months old,
Oh, wow.
maybe 6 months old. Yeah. So I was born in Trenton, New Jersey. My
Hmm.
dad's military, and then we went down to see grandma in Louisiana, and then we went to the Philippines. And so I was in the Philippines till I was turning 16, 15, 16, and then went to Nebraska. So, and then I spent the rest of that grown up years going to 24 in Nebraska. So I went from island life to Midwest life, being told, and in Omaha, there weren't a lot of black people or Orientals. So, I mean, I went from, you know, all Filipino really to all white to it was really interesting. So that's why I just said I'm an American.
Hmm.
Don't even try to categorize me because no one really knew what I was anyways. So
Wow. So let me ask you, because I know, did you have an accident when you were younger, when you were a young child?
I've had a lot of accidents.
Yeah, we're gonna get, we're definitely gonna get through some of those accidents because you've overcome a lot. But there was something specific in your story where your mouth had to be wired shut.
Oh,
And
that's the other accident. Okay, yeah, there's 2. So,
okay.
one of them, I fell at my grandma's house in Louisiana, and they rushed me
Mm,
to the hospital, and I fell on a piece of glass that went through my leg, and the doctors wouldn't touch me because I was black.
wow.
And so it was
Louisiana.
in New Orleans. And my mother is this little bitty Filipino lady, looks Japanese, but out there they thought she was white. So they didn't know what we were. And when she went in, And they said, we're not going to touch this kid. She's black. And this is back in 69.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a little girl. They wouldn't touch me. And my mom came in and started losing her mind. And so they stitched me up. And to this day, they barely stitch me up. I have a huge scar on my leg. And then fast forward, you said when they had to wire my mouth shut,
Yeah.
I was 8 years old in the Philippines at that time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember monkey bars where you hang upside down and
Yes.
you swing and swing and then you let go and you flip and you land on your feet. Well,
Yes.
I was doing that, and my brother and his friend were playing football. And as I was mid-air, they threw the football and they ran into me and I hit the ground and I bit my tongue off.
Wow.
And so, long story short, they had to wire my mouth shut, sew my tongue together, and then wire my mouth shut for several months.
And that's when your dad made the decision because you lost the touch of like your dialect, like speaking. I don't know what the term is to speaking a Filipino.
Well, the dialect, I had to choose. So
Mhm.
as they were reteaching my tongue how to move, I was, learning English and I kept breaking into Tagalog and trying to speak the other language, both of them. And my father said, she's an American, teach her
Mhm.
only English. And so they erased all Tagalog. So I can understand it. But
Mhm.
my English is so proper, you can't, I
Yeah.
sound like a fool speaking any language from the Philippines.
How did how did you feel like that helped your identity or for you to shift your identity when you came back to America? Was it a little bit easier for you to assimilate because you understood English and you were mostly raised learning English because of that accident?
No, I've always learned English. My father's an American, but
Mm,
I was in the culture of the Philippines because my mother's from the Philippines. And
got
so I was bilingual.
you. Mm,
And you wouldn't be able to tell that I was bilingual, but I was bilingual. And when they erased Tagalog out of me, it didn't really do any effect for me when I came back to the United States, except I talked funny in Louisiana.
mhm,
And I remember getting beat up every day for talking funny. And it's
mm,
like, what do you mean talking funny? Well, you got a funny accent. I'm like, what accent? Which was my accent. No accent was my accent. And so, yeah, so I got beat up a lot for thinking I was too smart, but it was like I wasn't smart. I just didn't have an accent. And
yeah,
grew up
Louisiana
overseas.
accent is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
For sure. Did you have something to say? Oh, okay. Um, now, understanding your story, you assimilated back to the States when you were around 16. You say you were growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, right? Well, that part of your life, right? Um, what was interesting that I saw about your story is that you were working, you got a waitress job, correct?
Oh, I had four jobs at that time, but
At
yes.
that time. Wow. Y- yeah, yeah, a lot of you're a hard worker. Capitalism, right? So in having those particular jobs, and I know we're gonna go into a sensitive topic, you were sex trafficked during that time,
Mhm.
right? So can you kind of explain like I guess what happened to I guess have you end up in that situation?
Well, and that is a tough subject for me. It was one I didn't really talk about until just recently, actually, in
Oh,
my late 50s, because I always punished myself for being so stupid. And that's what my brain was saying. How were you so stupid that someone took you? And what I've come to realize is has nothing to do with stupidity. It has nothing to do with whatever. It's who I was at the time, and I trusted people a lot. So,
wow.
how did it happen? I worked four jobs, but one of them was a waitress at a steakhouse. And my father had kicked me out of the house right before I turned 16, 17. So I had my own apartment at this point. And I'm in my third year of college, uh, engineering, University of Nebraska, and I had my own apartment. And the staff, the waiters and waitresses at the steakhouse said, "Hey, Michelle, we don't have to come in until late tomorrow. Why don't we all hang out at your house tonight?" Because I was the only one who didn't live with my parents. I
Mm,
said, "Sure, but you all have to be gone by 1 because I have to be at my other job by 7 a.m., so I have to leave by 6." And they said, "Okay, we'll be gone by 1." So we all went to work and then we all left together, went to my house. And here's what changed everything. One of the boys that I work with met another boy. No one knew this other boy. He invited this boy to my house. And this boy realized that I was a young girl living alone in an apartment.
Mhm.
And so when he invited this guy over, he was funny and laughing. He was playing the board game with us, and we're all having a great time. And no one knew that they had invited a predator into my house.
Okay.
I knew the other 6 people except for him. So
Mhm.
when everyone left at 1:00 in the morning, he came back and knocked on my door about 1:20, and he said he left his jacket in my house. Well, I'm 5 foot nothing. So when I looked in my closet, there I didn't see a coat, and he goes, "It's above." And so I looked up, and sure enough, there was a coat way up in the corner. I can't reach it. I'm a poor college student. I don't have a chair. I can't stand on anything.
Mhm.
And so I opened the door to let him back in to get his jacket.
Mhm.
And that's when he pulled out a gun and he raped me. And then he left me mangled and bleeding. And when I called for help, I called the police. They said, "We don't have time for your he said, she said bullcrap."
Wow.
And so I hung up, called back, hoping I'd get someone else to answer. Same guy answered. He is, "Just because you had a problem with your boyfriend doesn't mean you'd be calling the police on him. Stop wasting our time." And he hung up on me.
Wow.
And so when you're in that state of absolute shock and in pain and all of the things that we're going through, why was this happening? Having an authority figure tell me that I'm lying twice in a row kind of shut me down. And so I got ready, went to work like I said I was going to go to work. And then my boss did the same thing to me. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Something bad happened." She says, "What were you doing? Partying all night? Get to work." And so I went to work. And the worst thing about all of that is because I looked at authority as infallible and they failed me, my brain went shut. And then that night when I went back to work, because I had to work, I was working 4 jobs because I was living on my own and I was going to school full time. Um, the guy was there
Wow.
and he put his arm around me, he pulled me really close, and he said, "You tell anybody what happened, and I will slaughter every one of them and make you watch, and it'll be your fault." And I knew what he did to me. And if he liked me and he did that to me, what is he going to do to the people he doesn't like? And in my mind, I was not worthy of killing other people for my benefit of being saved. So I shut up.
Wow.
And then that night, my boss said, "I don't like that guy." I fired him. And then next day I I came home that night and he was sitting in my apartment. And he said, "You got me fired. Now you get to take care of me." And I had to take care of him.
How many years was that situation or
It
months?
it was at least a year and a half, because I missed my senior year of college. I ended up having to drop out because, he would hurt me so much and for so long, and it was horrid. I couldn't study, and I'm in my senior year of engineering. I mean, all I do is study and go to work, and he messed up my brain so much I had to quit. I had to quit school, and, when I told my counselor I was quitting, he gave me a lecture about giving up and how I'm never going to succeed if I give up. And what he didn't know, because I was protecting him too,
Yeah.
is that if I said anything, he was going to die. In my mind, he's going to die. So I'm dropping out. Yes, I'm stupid. Yes, I'm not worthy of the degree. Yes, yes. Whatever you say, yes.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I walked away.
So all these years, you basically blamed yourself for being in that position. How did you, I guess, come to terms with that or work through that pain?
I'm 57 this year. I just started talking about this a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. No. Well, and I never said it was my fault it happened. I was more why it took so long. Well, honestly, it was a car accident that knocked it out of me. In
Mhm.
2014, I got hit by a car and I had it nicely buried in my subconscious. And in 2014, when I got hit by the car, I obtained a multiple traumatic brain injury and it broke all my walls down. So when I
Wow.
started raging and I was raging and fighting and just irritable, wanting to run people over and all these crazy things. When they figured out they were going through my mind and talking to me, they thought the trauma, the TBI, not TBI, the traumatic injury, the PTSD was
PTSD.
from the car accident. And when they started working with me and talking, they were like, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with the car. It was the rapes. It was the multiple rapes. And so my brain went, I locked it away, but when it started coming out, I went, I am too smart to have been that dumb to get taken and be taken for so long. And so, how did I? And then when I told other people, yeah, that happened to me. So I don't like certain things. There's certain things that trigger me. And I've had grown women say, well, you're an idiot. I would have killed him.
Wow.
Why'd you do that? You're stupid. And I remember thinking, here I was trusting someone with this story that I've been holding for so long. And then I got attacked for not wanting to murder another person. And so what I had to come to the realization was I didn't kill him because I'm not a murderer. I will refuse to turn into the monster that's hurting me in order to stop him. There's
Mhm.
got to be another way. And as I told many policemen and security people and detectives and social workers, I'm a speaker by trade, so I've gone to a lot of conferences.
Mhm.
I've told them all that paperwork you put out on how to save yourself and how to stay alive and how to seek help. I never got to a person that would listen to me, but I remember all those little tidbits of how to do things. I
Mhm.
read them and I remembered them. So the only reason I'm alive today is because of those PSAs, those public service announcements they put out. I learned from them and I kept my butt alive until I could outsmart the guy who had me. And I had to reconcile with my mind. And I've got to tell you the reason why I had to reconcile the way I did.
Mhm.
When I was a total victim and my attacker, the guy who basically sold me everywhere, um, when I had no claim, I couldn't get out of the victimhood. So what I had to do was, what tiny piece of this monstrosity can I own so I can say, okay, this is what happened. I own it and I will never let it repeat again. So what I did was I took ownership of, I wish I didn't open the door. It's the
Okay.
only thing I could claim. I was a young girl who knew no better, and he was a friend of a friend. I trusted him to come in, and I was wrong. So by claiming that little piece, I was able to go in my mind in time and talk to that young 17-year-old girl and say, it's okay. You didn't know not to open the door. Forgive yourself for opening the door. And by being able to do that, I released the young version of me who's been beating herself up doing, why did this happen? And how come I didn't get out? Now I gave her a way of out. You didn't know. It's okay. I survived. And because you survived, I've become a much stronger woman and I can help other people to never repeat what we did.
You just gave us a master class in healing your inner child. I mean, that was perfect. I mean, I admire your strength and your ability to be able to work through that, even after suffering a traumatic brain injury from the accident, right? Because I remember you telling on another podcast with Dr. Smiley, you were saying how you have was it a 16-second memory?
I did. It's gotten better.
So what is that? Is that you only remember things like 16 seconds at a time, or
It's really weird. Brain injuries are quite interesting because I can remember my past like I can remember if an ant was walking on the ground at some moment. But if I meet someone in a crowded room, let's say,
Mhm.
at a conference, and people come up and start talking to me, as soon as you turn, I forget who you are. It's that fast. And unless you tell me a story or something to make it click, where I can link it to something else in my past, it doesn't stick. So
Wow.
I have a very short term memory. But
Mhm.
once I move you into long term, I never forget you.
Wow. So, we are a podcast dedicated to men, helping them be vulnerable and grow. And I know a lot of men listening to this, they could feel, especially those that have daughters, right? Or many of those that are married. Even I feel something, like I feel like as a man, I didn't even grow up at the same time as you, but the protection part of me is hurt because of what you went through. So, was there a time where you and your father not on speaking terms, where you felt like you couldn't reach out to him, or you were just scared that the man would, hurt your father? What was your thinking, if you remember, around that time?
My father kicked me out.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember, I told you I'm an engineer. So I
Yeah.
was always studying. I was always at school. I was always studying or going to work. I'd go from work, go to school, go to library. I was always there.
Mhm.
And when school started, that beginning of the year, um, there was a party, and they were teasing me because I wouldn't go to parties because I had to go to work. I have to go to school. I was very focused and like, you can't come to college and not do stuff. You gotta come to the party. And I said, well, I don't drive. I don't drive. And I
Mhm.
live 45 minutes away. And they're like, well, you can come stay at my house. Her name was Robin. And I said, she says, the party will be at my house anyway. So you just stay here. You won't be driving. No one has, you don't have to get in a car. She was very safe, very safe. And so I called my mom and said, hey, mom, I'm going to get my stuff and then I'm going to stay at Robin's house. My mom said, okay. So I got my stuff. Robin brought me there and brought me back to the party. And that next morning was church. And I walked into church and my mom said, don't come home. And I said, what? And she says, your father kicked you out. You're a whore.
Wow.
Don't come home. And I went, what do you mean I'm a whore? What happened? She says, your dad said Robin's a boy's name. And you plain out told her that he said that I had told my mother that I'm going to go sleep with a boy. I said, but mom, you met Robin. You know she's a girl. She says, that's not what your dad thinks. So when I got kicked out and subsequently got human trafficked,
Mhm.
the last person I was going to go to is my father. Because what was keeping me trapped with that boy was my dad's voice. You're a whore. I had never slept with anyone. I had never done anything until that boy took me. So I learned sexuality from a monster. And yeah, and I remember full out being raped. And as I started fighting, I remember my father's voice come in my head saying, you're a woman. You belong under a man. You're
Mhm.
worth nothing. You are just a sex toy for a man. And I remember doing, maybe I shouldn't fight. And I remember cognitively stop fighting because of my dad's voice. And so every time it happened, I would fight with that voice. I'd have that one voice that was sitting outside. I always left my body,
Mhm.
sitting outside doing, don't listen. Don't listen. You're smarter than this. You're better than this. And the other voice doing, this is where you belong. This is where you belong. Shut up. Shut up. And so I had a lot of fighting going on in my head. But now, as I healed, I've forgiven everybody that has ever wronged me in my life. It's
Mhm.
part of the forgiveness, it's part of the healing process. And the hardest part was forgiving myself for being so hard on myself for so long. And I've gone to my father and I asked him, why did you do what you did? I mean, you could have killed me. You could have had resulted in me dying. And he has, I didn't know any better. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know any better? You had to know in your heart this was wrong. And he says, it's what my mother did to me and she made me a man.
Wow.
So I repeated it so that you could be stronger. And I'm like, whoa. And so when I look at the past and I look at all the things that happen, and when I coach my clients, I say, don't look at the moment. Look at the bigger picture. He meant no harm, but his ignorance kept him in a box. He kept that chain going. I broke it. He wasn't strong enough to do it. I broke it. And then I will help more people break that chain before other people have to suffer through them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my father, and one of the other things that used to torture me was he told me in a couple of words, I'm short, fat, and ugly, and I have too many opinions that no man would want an opinionated woman like me. And so I grew up with that mentality in my head. And to be able to talk to him and sit him down and said, listen, your blood runs through my veins. I need to know why you did what you did so I don't do this to children. I did not want to have children because of what I knew was happening. And so to sit him down, he shook his head and he said, you've always been the smart one. You've always been the one who questioned everything. And I never thought that what I thought was pigheaded would bring me closer to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the rest of our siblings don't talk to him. I'm the only one who talks. Why? Because I'm the one who wanted to know why. And if he didn't ever give me an answer, at least I attempted.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up giving me an answer. I'm like, bonus. He didn't mean it. He just didn't know better. And when you think about that, with all the things that I've gone through, with all the rape and all that terrible thing, you would think I would have an absolute fear of men. And what I've realized, it wasn't just the fear was very specific. I was terrified of Black men,
Mm-hmm.
Mexican men, and anyone from New York. It was very, very specific.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did in order to fight those is I made my closer friendships opposite of what I was afraid of. I mean, exactly what I was afraid of. So my mentor was his name was Pastor Chauncey, and Black man. And I told him one day, I came to you One, because you called me and I came to you, but you're the closest person to me. And he goes, what changed? And I said, not all Black men are mean.
Mhm.
And I needed to be close to an older Black man so I could get my brain around that you're not going to hurt me. And then the same thing, my business partner is Mexican. Same,
Mhm.
the guy who took me was Mexican. So my business partner now is half Mexican. He looks just like the guy who took me. I almost like they could be brothers.
Mhm.
And I went to him and he's like, you did what? I said, you're part of my therapy. I needed to get out of my head that all people that look like this, talk like this, and do this are bad. I had everyone linked in one big box.
Mhm.
I had to prove that the box was broken.
Gotcha.
And once my brain realized that that box was wrong, I was able to pull it apart and say, that particular person in time did me wrong. My father in that particular time of his life did me wrong.
Mhm.
It's all good now.
Talk about facing your fears.
I go straight to him.
Straight to 'em. So, no,
The
that's
only way, because you start building stories around the stuff you're afraid of.
correct.
Yeah. And I
That's
had way too many stories to let those things sit in my head and start building onto each other. I didn't need a penthouse in my head of all my fears. So I started breaking walls down.
definitely. Well, let's go even a layer deep because to the audience surprise, you also you were battling cancer at one point in your life.
Well, still am.
You still are. Oh, okay. Wow.
You always are with cancer.
You
You
always
just
are, right? You never know.
never. Yeah.
So, what did that experience teach you? Because now you went through your younger years, the sex trafficking. You went through the brain injury. Now you're battling cancer. I mean, outside of me thinking you're an Avenger because you've you've been able to go through all of this. Like, what is that? What has that experience done for you in your life and your growth?
Well, this is something I tend to tell all my clients, and when I'm speaking on stage, the same thing. Every bad thing that you perceive in your life has a reason. I don't care if you're not going to figure it out till you're 50 or 80.
Mhm.
There's a reason behind it. Don't forget the lesson. Okay. So when I got into my breast cancer journey, they, within 60 days of discovering my breast cancer, gave me a double mastectomy. Now, get back to the young girl who was raped for her body, who already hated her body, who identified as being a female as her body. So I had a love hate relationship with my body.
Mhm.
And as I was healing, started loving who I was. And then they took my breasts. Shortly after, they took all body parts, all female body parts, because my cancer traveled through my body. So I'm tearing up because it's the most growth I've ever had was that breast cancer. Am I a woman? I don't have breasts. They took all my reproductives. Am I a woman? What am I? So I had to come through this whole journey of hating myself for being raped and being too cute to be taken. So tried to make myself less cute, trying to not be seen, to finally loving myself who I am, and then being told everything you've learned to love, cancer's going to take it all. Who am I? Cancer made me realize that although this might be pleasant to look at, it's this and this. My mind and my heart are more powerful, more resilient than this body shell could ever be. I thank my body for surviving and doing what it has done to keep me moving because I need the shell to keep going to do what I want to do in this world. But I have learned to cherish the brain I thought I would never be loved for. My father told me, too smart, no one will want you, right? But to love my soul so much that no matter what happens, I am me. And I am me in my whole femininity
Mm.
at my core has nothing to do with my shell. That's what I learned from cancer. And wait, if you ever meet me in person,
Yeah.
you think I'm powerful on this call? You meet me in person. People tell me I glow.
Mhm.
I glow because I love the essence of me, who I am, and what I bring to this world. And my passion and mission in life is to uncover that in everybody else I meet. Avengers Unite.
Yes.
Mhm. Good. When people ask me who I am, who are you? I say, I am me.
Mm.
I'm a force to be reckoned with.
I see that. I ain't playing with you, Michelle. But
Well, and I had a stroke in August, had heart surgery in
oh my
December.
God.
Yeah, I'm telling you, cancer has changed me.
Yeah.
Every 6 months, they cut me open for a different organ that was being affected in some way, shape, or form. I have a total of 10 surgeries. And then with the stroke, they found out that I had a hole in my heart. I've been living with a hole in the heart, a 3.5 centimeter hole in the top chamber of my heart all my life. And I've gone through all of this. I'm like, okay, fix the hole. He is, well, you're going to have a lot of energy after I fix the hole. I do have a lot of energy now. So,
See, upgrading those superpowers, I tell you.
yeah, when,
So
when
let me ask you, what role has your husband played while you've been going through this journey? Like, what advice can you give to men who want to be supportive in
okay,
this?
this is huge. I don't know if you caught in my research, your research of me. I've been with my husband since I was 14, he was 16.
Wow.
So we met in the Philippines in high school. He was the first guy that my father pulled a gun on, and he still took me out.
He survived.
Okay. Yeah. And he said, when he met me in high school, the woman I am today is the woman he saw at 14.
Oh, you about to make me cry. Damn.
Okay. So all this trauma I've gone through, when I was being human trafficked, I never told him. He had joined the military. He was out in like Saudi or something, and he would call me every Friday on a walkie-talkie phone or whatever from Saudi. And he'd do, hey, Michelle, how you doing? I do, oh, I'm fine. And while he's talking to me, the guy would have a gun either at my temple or my forehead. And I would be talking to him on the phone doing, I'm great. Yeah, I really can't stay on the line much longer. I got to go. And he'd say, oh, now for that year that this guy's doing this to me, Michael is thinking that I don't love him anymore, but he
Mm,
loved me. And so he said, even if I didn't love him, he was going to stay my friend and he was going to be there in my life, some way, shape, or form. And so he did not know about this human trafficking until he actually proposed to me. Now, this is crazy. I was saying yes to another man.
mm,
I needed safety. So when some guy asked me to marry him, I was going to say yes. I was prepared. His mother prepared me and I was going to say yes. And when Michael called me from Saudi, he says, what's going on? I said, well, that guy I'm dating's about to propose to me. He is, what are you going to say? I said, yes. He said, why are you going to say yes? Do you love him? I said, no. He said, why are you going to marry him? I said, I need safety.
wow.
I need, remember, I've just been human trafficked for a year. This is a year later, and I was looking for someone to protect me, someone to watch my back. And so I was going to marry this guy. And Michael said, you need to marry your best friend. I said, don't be silly. You are my best friend. And he said, exactly. Marry your best friend. And I said, no, because if something goes wrong in our marriage, have you remember, I watched my father do to my mother what he did to me.
Right.
Marriages are bad. I will not marry my best friend. I need my best friend to have my back when bad things happen in a marriage. So he took a good couple of hours to convince me to marry him. And at the end was, marry me, Michelle, marry me. And my deal with him was, if I marry you, you have to promise you never are going to fight me. You're not going to scream at me. You're not going to call me names. You're not going to do anything my father ever did to me or to my mother. Because if you do, I will not give you any notice. I will just leave. And he said, Michelle, you're my best friend. I love you. I will protect you and I will do anything for you if you do the same for me.
Mm.
So we made that pact before we got married. And as I've gone through all of this, now what I don't know if you noticed, I had I was afraid to have kids, ended up having kids. The rape stopped me. All the rapes destroyed my insides. I couldn't have children. My body locked down. I was infertile because my body refused to let anything in. I had to go through therapy and hormone treatments to make my body even get pregnant.
Wow.
That's how deep that stuff hit me. Michael was with me through all of it. And then when I gained all the weight, when I was coming to the realization what was happening to protect myself, I ended up close to 400 pounds.
Wow.
Imagine me, 5 foot, 389 at the last weight I saw. Okay. And then he watched me go through a brain injury and drop weight and get breast cancer, drop more weight, and then have strokes. And he's there. He has been my cheerleader, my best friend, my love of my life, the father to my children, my biggest support system. He's my manager. I mean, he's everything because he is why I'm alive. Now, let me back up.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reliving all that trauma, I lost faith in who I am. And I got suicidal. And one day he sat me down. He says, Michelle, do you love me? I said, yes. He says, do you trust me? With all my heart. I trust you more than I trust me. He says, I think you're wonderful. And I think you're the best person on this planet to do whatever you need to do. And the world is waiting for your voice. And I will be here for you no matter what. No matter how crazy I get, because I got crazy. And he was there patiently, quietly, never fighting, just doing. He would sit me down whenever I would rage. He'd sit me down and do, what's going through your head right now? He didn't try to solve it. He just listened. I'm alive today because I had to borrow his belief in me and what I could be and what I could survive so that I could survive. I believed in his belief until I grew strong enough to believe in me.
Wow.
He is why I am who I am. He kept me from drowning in my sorrow and pain. So, all the men out there listening, women aren't looking for solutions. They're looking for someone to catch their back. And he's always had my back. He kept me safe while I learned to become who I really am, me.
Wow. With that being said, yeah, you left a speech. Not many people could leave us speechless. You definitely have a gift. Um, Towards the end of our segment with you, I wanted to ask you some hot seat questions.
Okay.
Um, Now you talked a lot about your husband, so I wanted to ask you, what is the most influential man in your life besides your husband?
Oh, besides my husband, my grandfather,
Oh wow.
my mother's father. He
Mm.
passed away when I was 6. But I had many, many talks with him. Uh, we'd sit in the grass and we'd look at the stars and he would tell me about, what I want to be when I grow up and that I'm limitless like the stars and, that kind of thing. He broadened my mind to beyond this physical world. And I didn't know that's what he was doing until I got older and looked back and went, he told me there was more,
Mm.
more. And so he was very influential with me because in the chaos of our family life, he was the quiet, soft-spoken one who just listened and he would give me advice. And I swear, even to this day, when I meditate and when I'm praying, he's the one who comes and talks to me.
That's amazing. Is there a quiet fear that you have now or had that no one knew about?
My quiet fear that I used to have till I was like 56 was that my attacker was going to find me. He told me when he left, I will find you and I will kill you because no one will have you.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I moved apartments, I moved states, I changed my name. I mean, I did everything. And as a speaker, I started getting on stages and speaking. My big fear, and I had many, many nightmares of this, that he would walk into the room or be in my line as I'm signing books and he'd be right in front of me and I'd look up. And that was my quiet fear. And I'm not afraid of that anymore. I realized the reason why he took me was because I was a scared person. I was not owning who I was. He saw the break in my shell and he took it. This woman does not have a break in her shell. She's got gold diamonds lining those cracks. So I don't see him ever coming back because he would fear this woman.
Any last words you have for the men out there, for our audience? We also have a lot of women listeners too. Any what do you want them to leave with today?
There was a quote I wrote when I had my brain injury and I was locked in my head. And I would say it over and over again. I don't know why I want to say it, but I'm going to say it now. Change is an emotional journey. It's not rainbows and butterflies in a field of daisies. Change hurts. What it does is it forces you to see who you truly are, what you're made of. The beauty of all change is in the possibilities.
With that being said, we thank you so much, Dr. Michelle Mras, for being our guest today. You have blessed not only us, but our audience. I love you and I love your story. Jono, I love you, bro.
Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, the man that says he can and the man that says he can't are both right. Which one are you?
Street cred was a major priority, and no respect for any authority. If you love school, you were in the minority. Can't be yourself, only way was conformity. In the dark I pray.